The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
We are now about to witness the truth.
it's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am, of course, your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Monday, November 14th, 2016. Thanks so much for joining us. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to come and hang out with us for a little while, and I do appreciate it. As always, at the top of my show, I want to say thank you to my patrons. We cannot do it without your support. Become a contributor. Consider becoming a contributor. I want to thank our latest contributors, our latest patrons. Kevin B, thank you so much for your pledge. Laurel K, thank you so much for your pledge. Adam S, thank you so much for your pledge. Denise, thank you for your pledge. Christopher V, thank you so much for your pledge. You guys are the ones who make it possible. Thanks so much for that. A part of becoming a member, becoming a patron, you get access to our Friday bonus show. And as often as I can do a nightly bonus show, I do try. But last week was just hell, man. Like, did anybody get a normal cycle of sleep last week after Tuesday? Like, you went to bed thinking the world was going to an end on Tuesday night. And matter of fact, I didn't even go to sleep. I think I had a grand total of 8 hours of sleep for the entire week. So I said that to say that's why I don't have any bonus material for last week. But we do have a full hour bonus show on Friday that is just for patrons. Friday's bonus show was so good. I'll be honest with you. I've been thinking about I need to release it because sometimes my best shows are on Friday, which is crazy. Because right now, we have like 100 patrons. So it's like 100 people are getting some of the best content that we create because I guess it's not live and I'm just hanging out with you. And it's like really, I think it's good. Patrons, you can speak for yourself. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Anyway, let's talk about the reality that Donald Trump is in over his head. And that's not headline, right? That's not shocking. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone that Donald Trump is in over his head. But the reality of him being in over his head really does explain exactly what I outlined during the primaries even. A lot of people were saying, well, Donald Trump is different. Donald Trump, and conservatives were saying this, not you. Donald Trump is different and he's going to shake things up. I'm like, no. Then I had progressives who said Donald Trump is, he's going to not be the same on foreign policy. And I'm like, nope, that's not true. He's going to be the same on foreign policy. He's going to be worse on economic policies. He's going to be worse on foreign policies. And the reason I make that conclusion is because Donald Trump is feckless and devoid of substance and has no idea what the hell he is doing. And because of that, he is having to surround himself with the exact same people who are a part of the quote unquote swamp that he thinks he's draining. He's not draining the swamp. He's putting the people who dump shit into the swamp in the first place. He's putting them around in every position. He's surrounding, they're on his transition team. I mean, this is quite literally going to be the personification of inside politics, of insiders, beltway politicians, beltway lobbyists making up Donald Trump's administration. And that's because he is in over his head. Like, I don't know, to be fair to Donald Trump, not that I have to be. Hang on. I'll make sure there's no logo showing on this. Not as though you don't know who this is, but still, I want to make sure there's no logos because they don't pay me nothing. Put that off over there. Cover up that. All right. What was I saying? Anyway, Donald Trump has, okay, to give him some credit. That's where I was. Giving Donald Trump a little bit of credit. Not that I have to, but I will. There is no real way to prepare to be president of the United States. I think we can all agree that everyone thinks they can do the job until they actually get the job. And that's everything. Like, hell, I thought I was going to be a great parent. And I thought I knew everything about parenting until I actually became a parent. Likewise, I don't think anyone is actually prepared to be the president of the United States. You can have a lot of experience, but the presidency of the United States is uniquely different. And the responsibilities that fall on you at the moment you become president-elect is astonishing. The appointments that he has to make is they're staggering. I believe it's some 1,400 appointments that he has to make. That is a lot. Actually, I'm sorry, 4,000 jobs that need to be filled for the Trump administration. 4,000 jobs. And this is obviously not something that any individual would do on their own, right? Gotcha. But for a person who demonstrated on 60 Minutes last night that he doesn't really have a strong fundamental understanding of how the government works, and most high school civics courses students, even the C student in civics, probably has more understanding of the branches of government than Donald Trump displayed last night on 60 Minutes. Donald Trump is so in over his head, he has done exactly what I said he was going to do, and that is he has pulled in the establishment of the Republican Party, some key lobbyists, and some of the same faces that you would see that will continue the exact same paradigm. So for progressives, why does it even matter, right? Well, because a lot of people said, well, we're electing Trump so he can burn the whole thing down. I told you from the beginning, he's not burning anything down. The only thing he's going to do is continue implementing Republican policies. That's it. That's it. He's not burning anything down. For other people, it was like, well, yeah, maybe he'll do such a terrible job that it will rally Democrats. I think that's still a possibility. However, he's not going to do a terrible job because he, alienates people who can actually work, right? People who can actually fill the positions. He's going to do a terrible job because Republican policies. Let me start that again. He's not going to do a terrible job because he's going to put necessarily incompetent people in place, right? He's putting people in place who are going to efficiently execute Republican policies. And those Republican policies, that's what's going to do a terrible job, right? That's what we've seen. That's what happens. The first thing they're going to do is cut taxes. They're going to gut Obamacare. They're going to be efficient because he's surrounding himself with inside players. But what they do efficiently is ultimately going to backfire because Republican economic policies always backfire. And it's always left up to somebody from the left to patch it up. So that's what I mean by he is in over his head. So let's talk about some of the people he's appointing. I can't quite read this, Max. I can't read this line. Talking about who's involved in this story. Yes, F Trump, F Priebus, F Bannon, and double F Bannon. So Donald Trump, it looks like Reince Priebus is going to be the White House chief of staff. Everybody knows Reince Priebus. He's the chairman of the RNC. Looks like Pee Wee Herman, but balding. So am I, but still, he looks like Pee Wee Herman, but balding, right? And so he's going to be the chief of staff. No big surprise there. This is the big surprise that I'm not surprised about, but it seems like most of America is in shock. Steve Bannon of Breitbart. Steve Bannon of Breitbart, who is who is a white nationalist, right? Here's a picture of Steve Bannon. He is a white nationalist. He is a white supremacist. He is a sexist, a misogynist. He is an anti-Semite. He is the quintessential alt-right, rabidly racist, and smart enough to profit off of it. That's exactly what Breitbart is. right? And so when they asked Reince Priebus this morning about Steve Bannon, they were like, well, you know, if you look at his website and you see all of these horrific articles that talks about Jews, it talks about how birth control makes women ugly, you know, all these ridiculous things. They were asking Reince Priebus on Today's Show, you know, is he a white nationalist, sexist, you know, all these things. And Reince Priebus says, you know, I don't know who that guy is. I know Steve Bannon is he's a Harvard educated businessman. As though you can't be simultaneously Harvard educated and racist as hell. But anyway, so Steve Bannon of Breitbart, Steve Bannon is, I don't know how to even describe him, right? I want to give him the right type of level. I don't want to say he's like the I don't even know, who is he to racism compared to he is the leader. That's all I can say. He is the leader and the mastermind behind the alt-right movement, and he gave, not the alt-right movement, but the presence of the alt-right movement at Breitbart, right? They have a home, they have a place that lends them credibility, and that home is Breitbart. And now that home is in the White House. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. I'm not like, I expect this. I fully 100% expect this because, the reason I expect this because Donald Trump showed us who he was. I refuse to spend the next 4 years pretending to be surprised by the things that Donald Trump does. I already know. We simply have to brace ourselves, accept the fact that we lost, fight back as much as we can, where we can, and how we can. But I'm not going to spend the next years being shocked that he appoints a white supremacist and a white nationalist, anti-Semite, a sexist pig like Steve Bannon to the White House. I just really hope, I really sincerely hope that they are as thin-skinned as they appear to be, so that as people remind the world of how big of pieces of dung they are, I'm doing my best not to cuss, even though I already did. I'm hoping they're thin-skinned enough to come off of their ivory tower perch over the next 4 years and really show the world how petty they are. I hope that they come after some media heads, right? Because this is what I think is ultimately going to happen with Donald Trump. They are going to destroy themselves because they are authoritarian and they do want to suppress voices. Donald Trump is not going to be able to handle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of people, of thousands of people, some bigger, some smaller, some with thousands of followers, some with millions of followers, some with television reach into 100,000 homes, some with television reach into 1 million homes. Donald Trump is not going to be able to sit there and take all of that and not return in kind. He's not. And so he is going to simultaneously devalue the value of the office of the presidency, as well as he's going to step over some lines that are going to put him at odds with the Constitution. I'm counting on it. I hope that he is that bullheaded, because ultimately he's going to step on the wrong landmine and undermine and he's going to violate the law. Let's just cut to the point. Donald Trump is incapable of not trying to use his power, and now he has the most power in the world. He's going to try to use his power to suppress voices that attack him. Don't you realize that the office of the presidency is there for one thing, to make half of America happy and to get attacked 9 days out of 7 by the other half of America? I mean, of course, and then there's the imperialist empire abroad and all that stuff. But Donald Trump is not going to be able to handle it. And by surrounding himself with people like Steve Bannon, he most certainly is not going to be able to keep his mouth shut, and he's going to cross the line. So back to Steve Bannon, just so you can get a picture of who this guy really is. as editor of Breitbart, he said President Obama, he accused President Obama of importing more hating Muslims. He compared Planned Parenthood to the Holocaust. He called conservative Bill Kristol, he called him a renegade Jew. And I'm not laughing at what he called him. I'm laughing at the fact that this is the person that is in the White House strategist, like the chief West Wing strategist. He advised female victims of online harassment to just log off and stop screwing up the internet for men. All right, so Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon, according to this one report, says that both of these men are going to be required to sign off on many decisions jointly. And Steve Bannon was assured that he responds or reports rather directly to Donald Trump and not to Reince Priebus. So he's already setting this up for chaos, man. I'm sorry, he's going to have a renegade by the name. He's going to not. I almost used a play on words that would have got me in trouble. We're going to have a renegade white man in the White House that's more so than Donald Trump. All right, 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. So of the 4,000 plus jobs, that have to be filled, 1054 require Senate confirmation, and 525 do not involve the Senate. This is a massive undertaking, and this is why Donald Trump is surrounding himself with people who have done this before, and this is why there's going to be a lot of consistency. There's not going to be a great shakeup like everyone else thinks. Here's the hilarious thing, hilarious in a very sad way, is that his transition website, I think Obama's was like, yes, we can or something, or yes, we did or something. Donald Trump's transition website is greatagain.gov. Anyway, I don't even want to talk about, I have to talk about him. He's the president of the United States, and he's going to be making a lot of policies, and he's going to be making a lot of appointments. I remember back in March, I tweeted out, I had a vision. It hit me. I'm like sitting on Twitter, and I had this vision of Donald Trump giving an inauguration speech, and I just busted out laughing because it was the most ridiculous thing I could possibly think of. And then simultaneously, like 2 seconds later, I really wanted to cry because of how ridiculous America would be if Donald Trump was a president. Now I'm just going to laugh, right? I'm laughing all the way to the reality that this is going to destroy Donald Trump. This is going power. Nothing is more helpful to self-destruction than power. The only thing more helpful to self-destruction than power is money. He already had money, but now he has all of this power. And to make it worse, he has all of this power with more than half of America aiming for him, rhetorically speaking, because I'm sure I have some Pepes in the audience who can be like, oh my God, he made a threat against yeah, whatever. Kiss my ass. All right, let's take this first caller. The lines are blowing up. I see a lot of people have a lot to say tonight. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
And this is Jared from Downingtown, PA.
Hey, Jared, what's up, man?
I'd like to talk about the election that happened.
Yep.
I can say that with, I guess, that I'm kind of glad that my grandmother died in May, as opposed to being alive to have to see that election.
Yeah.
Because if she did see that election, she'd probably be dead within about maybe a day or so.
Yeah.
I think she'd just give up the will to live. She was 97 anyway, so.
Oh wow,
if she had to live through all that and then just see that man the first woman woman nominee for the
Yep.
White House. That's it. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And she was a Democrat too, so that would have been just like the death knell.
I felt the same way the other day, man. I'm gonna let you finish, but I felt the same way the other day. I really felt like I was really sad that my dad died in 2005. He was young. He was Gwen Ifill's age. He was 61, and we'll talk about Gwen Ifill later. He was 61, and I was sad that he didn't get a chance to see the first black president because my dad grew up in the civil rights movement. He was a full part of it. But I was simultaneously sad that he didn't see Barack Obama become president. But at the same time, I felt that feeling. I was happy that he was not alive to see Donald Trump become president because, just the same reason you said. But go ahead. What's your question, man?
It's not so much a question. I have some sources about Donald Trump. The first one I want to give out is Chris Hedges wrote a brilliant article. He's always got some of the most brilliant articles on the internet. On TruthDig, it's called It's Worse Than You Think. He goes over the police states, the world order that's taking over, the corporatocracy. Trump is basically going to pretty much become full-blown fascist, and he's going to take us into war with Russia. That was something interesting I found in Chris Hedges' article. He's going to bring in confrontation with Russia, probably invade Iran and Syria. So that's kind of interesting.
That's something I don't hear often. I don't hear many people saying that Donald Trump is going to take us to war. What was his reasoning for that? Take us to war with Russia. That's like the opposite of what I hear.
Oh, well, okay, that's it. That's interesting. Now I got something from Robbie Martin. Do you know who Robbie Martin is?
Can't say it. The last name sounds familiar. I can't place the guy, but go ahead.
He's the brother of Abby Martin.
Okay, I know Abby. Yeah, I know Abby. Yeah.
Okay. So he tweeted out like a day ago, and this is from a source. Some of the most fringe neocons are groomed into Trump, and we got Gaffney, we got Levine, we got Bennett, we got Bolton, John Bolton, Woosley. He's the one pushing for war with Russia. We got Eric Prince. And now here's the interesting part about the 2016 election. It was a fight between the fringe neocons and the establishment neocons, because the establishment neocons were pushing for Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
You got people like Kagan, you got Dan, you got Max, you got Jeffrey Goldberg.
Okay.
You got, basically they were all the establishment neocons were going for Hillary. Now we're getting the fringe neocons, which makes me wonder how crazy is it going to get? Because I'm seriously thinking.
Go ahead.
I think they could potentially stage a nuclear bomb, a fake nuclear bomb by ISIS in New York City, and potentially take us to war with Iran. Now that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But remember, in 2001. When 9/11 happened, they blamed it on Saddam. So don't think it's that crazy.
Well, I mean, crazier.
We're going to be seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's crazy, right? There's crazy, and then there's 9/11, and then there's nuclear. There's a nuclear bomb. Like, I mean, as you know, I can't even give you comparison between the scope of 9/11 compared to a nuclear bomb in New York City. So there is crazy and there is cover up. But thanks for the call. 857-600-0518. I do agree with you on the fringe elements of the neocons, right? That was interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. But that is who Trump is surrounding himself with. He has neocons in his administration. And they, even the more establishment neocons, I think people don't realize, right? Once Trump won, where are they going to go? They're going to go right back to Trump, groveling, mind you. And whether or not Trump actually takes them back, that's a question I don't have the answer to. But, they're going to go back. So all these thoughts of Donald Trump being somehow a uniquely transformative president, He's not going to be transformative for the reasons people thought he was going to be transformative, not conservatives and not the far left progressives who wanted him to burn the whole thing down. He's not going to burn the whole thing down, and he's not going to bring about some type of economic populism, why some of the working class voted for him. He's not going to do that. He is going to be a pro-business president. And I forgot to do, you know what I forgot to do today? I forgot to do the 10-point plan he had for the black community. I'll do that tomorrow. But even with the 10-point plan that he has for the black community, it's like 100% pro-business propaganda. Like, if how I'm going to fix the black community, I'm going to cut taxes. Cut corporate taxes. That's literally one of the items that he has on how he's going to fix the black community is cutting corporate taxes. This is how he's going to play everybody. He's just going to do breaks for all of his buddies and for himself, for that matter. Let's take the next story, then I'm going to take the next caller. All right. So you guys thought you were tired of Donald Trump doing the primaries. Hell, we've got 4 years just to talk about Donald Trump. And so last night, Donald Trump was on 60 Minutes. And if you watch that, I don't know how you can watch that and not think that I don't want to say the world is burning around us, but damn it, the world is going to burn around us because of Donald Trump. I mean, his solution for, watch this, his solution for people who were committing hate crimes was simply to tell them to stop it. If people are committing hate crimes, he wants you to just stop it, right? Because that's how that's granted, that's how Hillary wanted to stop Wall Street, cut it out, right? It's equivalent. Hate crimes, just stop it. The flip side of it, before I go into Donald Trump so much, the flip side of that conversation is this rabid denial of the existence of hate crimes. So on one side, you have Donald Trump, who at least says something, and it's not much of anything, but he'll at least say, if it's happening, stop. But that's a big if when you have half of America who just completely ignore the fact that there have been 200 reported cases of hate crimes reported since he became the president. So you can't, what do you do in this world where people take, and here's the flip side to the flip side, right? Flip side to the flip side is they take one video of some black kids beating up a white guy because he was a Trump supporter. And this one video becomes solid, ironclad evidence that Donald Trump supporters are in danger, right? Simultaneously, there are over 200 reported cases of hate crimes that have taken place. No one believes a single case of the 200 cases of hate crimes. But this one video of black kids beating up a white man, oh, that is like, let's spread that around because, oh my God, not only did we win this election, but we're also at risk. So now we need President Trump to protect us. This is the world that we're going to exist in the next 4 years. We're going to exist in this world where facts are completely irrelevant and perception of reality is all that matters. That's the world we live in. Okay, so Trump talking to his supporters to stop harassing people. Donald Trump also talked about he's going to, they're going to end Roe v. Wade. But when he was asked about, it's a thing, and it was confusing, right? He was asked about gay marriage, and he said, well, the Supreme Court has already decided that. Then he was asked about Roe v. Wade, and he said, well, we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And then he said, well, what happens? He was asked what happens if you overturn Roe v. Wade. They can just go to another state. I'm like, well, Trump, you just said that Obergefell versus Hodges, that was settled by the Supreme Court. What about Roe versus Wade, which is settled by the so this is he has stated that he's going to keep, this is another cognitive dissonance. That's actually, this one, all of these are going to cause major problems. he's going to keep the best parts of Obamacare and repeal the mandate. He's going to keep the ability of people to stay on their parents' insurance till they're 27 or 26. And he's going to keep the ability of, or the inability of insurance companies to reject you based on a pre-existing condition, but he's going to get rid of the mandate. And I believe he said he's also going to, or actually they're in a, there's a appeal that's happening with regard to the subsidies. And so all he has to do with the subsidies is basically stop pursuing that appeal. So he's basically going to undermine the conditions that make the Affordable Health Care Act possible in the first place, while simultaneously keeping the best parts of the Affordable Care Act. And then it dawned on me, like, we were having a conversation yesterday morning on Politics and Grits. You should definitely come check out Politics and Grits. It dawned on me that he or the Republicans, however, would sabotage themselves if they were to repeal Obamacare. And they would sabotage themselves with the 20 million people who need Obamacare. And they would sabotage themselves because all of a sudden people with pre-existing conditions across the board would not be able to get insurance. All these things, like all these things that they were going to repeal. And then Sam Cedar from the Majority Report reminded me that, well, actually, before I get to Sam, the thing that was going to be problematic for Republicans is that if they do this, they put themselves at risk of not being able to get their supermajority in the Senate in 2018, right? All right. Sam Cedar reminded me of how this really works, which is actually a great point. They're going to repeal Obamacare probably in the first month on paper, and then set the date for the expiration for 2019. That way they can get past the election, get this short-term victory, make everybody feel like America's great again because they got rid of Obamacare. They've been trying for 52 times. They can do that on the first month of President Trump's, I can't even believe I'm saying that, President Trump's administration, get this big paper victory, and then wait until after the midterm elections for the impact to really hit their people. And that's how politics, that's how it's done. That's how it happens. All right, we got 4 years to unpack all the other stuff that he's going to do. Again, I'm not surprised by any of this. I'm not shocked by Donald Trump at all. But what are they going to do? Not report on him? He's now the president-elect, and we have to discuss his insanity. All right, 857-600-0518. In a moment, I want to talk about a couple of paths. There's only one thing that can help Democrats and progressives, left-leaning people, women's rights, LGBTQ rights. There's only one thing and one person who can keep Donald Trump from rolling all that back. We're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to take this caller. Caller, you are live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, my name's Joel from New Hampshire.
Joel, what's on your mind, man?
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hey,
so,
thanks for calling, man.
Great
Thanks
stuff. So, well, one of the things I want to talk about, one of the reasons I enjoy your show, and I know is you guys are sort of willing to criticize anybody who's kind of taking a wrong-headed tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And I had sort of some stuff I've been noticing in the last few days that I wanted to push back and kind of get your thoughts on.
Okay, go for it.
Which is that right after Trump was elected, we had these big protests, people out in the streets.
Yep.
And some of the reactions are not surprising. I'm not surprised that, the Breitbart right thinks that they're all bribed and they're, all this conspiracy stuff. And I'm not totally surprised that the establishment and the Hillary people are saying, they need to let Trump do his work. This isn't the time to protest and all that.
Right.
I am surprised, though, to see, I would say, a small slice of the left, not a big slice, but a significant one, and people that I thought were kind of better than this, go on the rampage attacking the protesters and saying, basically using some right-wing talking points. So I was kind of dismayed to see that. It's making me wonder if there's going to be sort of a small group of people who and you've kind of talked about this before, they're so anti-Hillary Clinton or anti-establishment that they can't distinguish that, the enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that and see what you thought, because
I
I've seen a lot on like Twitter and stuff, just like, where's this coming from,
Yeah, I have to ask you to clarify one thing for me, only because, man, I gotta make a huge correction. Somebody misspelled Ifill on my YouTube feed, and that is so disrespectful for Gwen Ifill, who is an amazing person. And I'm just seeing it as I'm talking to you live right now. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna fix this right now.
Oh yeah,
out of respect, because that just got tweeted out to, all 20,000. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna go back and delete that off of Twitter now. Holy crap, that is so painful. Okay, give me a clarification on the right wing talking points that they used that you were surprised by. That's the only thing I don't have. That's the only thing I'm not privy to right now.
The 2 or 3 things I saw were this idea that all the people out there protesting are like hired or bribed or something. Like they showed some random Craigslist ad. Who knows where they get it from, but it's like this idea that tens of thousands of people. Also, it's funny because the Democrats organized for 6 months and they couldn't win the presidency, but we're supposed to believe within a day they were able to manufacture, tens of thousands of protesters. I don't think so.
Okay.
And then the other one is
the
whole George Soros thing and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, you about to get me in trouble. You guys know how to get me in trouble. So I think it's utter bullshit, right? I know, right? Feel free to call back because all right. So here's the deal. There is everybody. I don't know how to even talk about this. I would say I've seen it, right? Let me start here. This is where I disagree with the protesters. Anybody who is out there, now there's multiple groups out there, to be sure. There's a lot of different groups.
Yeah.
But some of the protesters are out there quite literally saying that they want the Electoral College to give this to Hillary Clinton. And those people, I say, go sit down. The game is over. We lost. It is what it is. Let's never, you can't change the rule after the fact. So those people, I'm like, just go away. There are some other people who are just out there the same, they protested when Donald Trump came to Chicago. They protested when he came to whatever city he was in, and they protested him because they feel like he's a fascist, racist, misogynistic pig. And so they're just using this as an opportunity to continue those protests. What's amazing to me is the fact that I'm with you, that there's a contingency on the left who completely whitewashes the reality that is a very diverse group of protesters out there. One, they are accepting it on good faith that, not even good faith, they're accepting it on faith that everybody out there is pro-Hillary. And because they believe everybody out there is pro-Hillary, they believe it has to be funded by Team Hillary, Correct the Record, and George Soros, which gets me to the next point, which is everybody needs a boogeyman. George Soros is the boogeyman of the left to the right. And because George Soros has been helping Hillary Clinton, he has become the boogeyman of the left. No, he's become the boogeyman of the Democratic Party for the left. And I personally, I'm like, whatever. I'll talk about George Soros another day. I'm not going to go into George Soros today. But, everything that happens now, anything that happens that people disagree with from the left or from the right, from the left that's not the Democratic Party, right? Here in this conversation, I'm delineating between the Democratic Party and the left. Anything that's happening that the left doesn't like from the Democratic Party, they automatically attribute it to George Soros. I mean, George Soros is everywhere. George Soros is, and I'm like, okay, we can get into a whole lot of problems with that method of thinking, right? Because they're they're whitewashing this down. They're reducing this down to guilt by association in most cases, and not even that good. They're melting it down to anybody who's organized must be organized by George Soros. Case in point, I have people who think I'm funded by George Soros. No, I'm funded by working 40 hours a week. That's how, and my patrons. I'm funded by my patrons. But I mean, anything that's organized, people are now saying, "Oh, are you George Soros funded?" I'm like, how many of you even knew George Soros existed before this election started? I would like everyone who did not know George Soros existed before this election started to just take a break. Just take 5 and relax and just kind of experience an election cycle before you draw this conclusion that you've got the world figured out. Okay, so now you just probably cost me about 100 Twitter followers and 100 subscribers, but
no,
whatever,
I hope
man.
You gain 100 to make up for it.
No problem. But I'm with you, man. It's surprising, but it is. It's helpful. I'll put it like this: it is helpful because it shows us. It shows us the differences, and sometimes seeing differences between types and methodologies and types of thinking is not a bad thing. So thanks for bringing that call up. I'm sure I'm in trouble, but it was worth talking about. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Great answer.
All right. Take care. 857. I'm scared to open the phone lines again because y'all get me in trouble, man. 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. All right. Let's get back to the topics at hand. Is this correct? 'Cause, oh my goodness, like the last thing I want to do is disrespect Gwen Ifill. All right. Yeah, I see you, Brandon, in the chat room. Listen, here's the other thing. Let's be real. I think I'm going to go to George Soros and say, George, Mr. Soros, I want you to give me $100,000 to invest in, this project I'm doing. Make sure this logo is covered up. You know why? Because one, people think I'm funded by George Soros anyway. I'm like, where's my check then? If people are going to give me hell because I give an opinion that's counter to the prevailing opinion on the far left, then all of a sudden, oh, you must be getting a check from George Soros. You know what? Let me go find Mr. Soros. Where do I apply to get my check? Number two, the reason I might go ask George Soros for some money is because it is completely asinine to believe that everyone who has ever accepted corporate money or money from someone you think is the devil is equally the devil. It's ridiculous. And I got into a conversation. Let me start this conversation very lightly here. I got into it, and I'm all off topics, and I got to get back. I only got 20 minutes. I like to respect other content creators. I've never done a segment on my show about another YouTube content creator. I'm thinking hard, unless it was like a conservative. Like I talk about them all the time and kiss my ass. But like another progressive, I like to respect our space because I don't think we need a whole lot of infighting. But I think we as content creators have a responsibility to be true to ourselves and be true to what we believe is true. Now, with a person like me who holds himself to that standard, that means I am going to find myself on the opposite side of the equation, of the argument, to people I'm normally an ally with. Case in point, I am on the opposite side of the argument with most people with regard to Keith Ellison. We're here. Let's just go. Let's just do it. All right. I'm on the opposite side of the equation of many progressives who are now making the case that Keith Ellison is an inside man. He is the Manchurian progressive, and he's there as a representative of Hillary Clinton because they have pictures of him with George Soros's grandson, and because he took money from a PAC funded by George Soros, and because he tweeted out some support for the attack on Libya and support for the war in Syria. As a result of that, he is clearly a Hillary Clinton inside man. He's clearly a Manchurian progressive, really set there to be the lesser of two evils juxtaposed to Howard Dean. And if they put Howard Dean up to make him look like he's the bad guy, then we can all fall for Keith Ellison, and then we'll see he's the good guy. And then poof, we've all fell for the lesser of two evils again. All right, this is going to tie into the state level. Watch this. Here's the thing. There is no such thing as a politician with clean hands. Even more precisely, there's no such thing as a politician who's in a position to do good or to do bad with clean hands. Especially if your definition of clean hands is they can't take corporate money or they can't have any ties to billionaires. Done. There's nobody in the game. Bernie Sanders somewhere along the line has taken some money. And matter of fact, you guys have already many people have written Bernie Sanders off because he endorsed Hillary Clinton. Like now he's just poof, he's gone. This rejection of lesser evilism, I told you guys, it always is a gateway for greater evil. Thinking that you can simply say, I don't see a difference between Howard Dean and Keith Ellison. If you don't see a difference between Howard Dean and Keith Ellison, hear me loudly and clearly, you are not qualified to be in this conversation. You just simply should not do politics if you don't see the difference between Howard Dean and Keith Ellison. That type of thinking always opens us up to a greater evil, because there have been so many, including, and I'm gonna call names out because it's been, well, I'm not gonna call out all the names because I'm respecting YouTube content creator space. Okay. But Tim Canova was a candidate, been on my show, and he's putting up all these names of people that he would prefer versus Keith Ellison, but none of the people he prefers is even running. It's like, how do you prefer? Oh, I want this person, and not A, B, C, and D. You want A, B, and C, and D are not running. And so what it does, it leaves us completely, and yes, us, and I'll tell you why I'm saying us now. It leaves us completely vulnerable to someone who is actually a lobbyist. If you can't tell the difference between someone who takes money from a lobbyist and an actual lobbyist, I don't think you're really qualified to be in this conversation anymore. I respect your opinion, but not on that. I'll respect your opinion at another time, but not on that. Like we could be allies, but not on that issue. No, not on that issue. I'm done with that. Because you're going to be chasing after Cornel West to be the chair of the DNC when Cornel West is in absolutely zero position to be the chair of the DNC. Keith Ellison is the closest thing that we have to a progressive who's actually in a position to take over the Democratic Party. I'm going to go one step further. We're here. People who are pushing, and a lot of people didn't like that I tweeted this out, so I'll give you specific names. People who are pushing so hard against Keith Ellison, some of them are directly tied to the Green Party. How would you even think that the Green Party would actually want a real progressive to lead the DNC? No, it corners them completely out the market, even though they only have 0.7% of the market share. Yes, I'm a dick tonight. Y'all, hey, it is what it is. I'm just telling you like I feel it so we can just be clear. We can be clear. I can ride with you because here's the thing. My problem with Hillary Clinton was not that she wasn't a perfect progressive. It wasn't that she was, I didn't think she was evil. I already told you that. I don't think she's a devil. My problem with Hillary Clinton is that I knew, and I got the receipts, go look, I knew she couldn't beat Donald Trump. I started believing the polls at the end, but if you check my record through and through, I knew that Donald Trump was not, more so than Hillary Clinton, I knew that Donald Trump was not susceptible to the identity politics that was Hillary Clinton's only play. That was my beef with Hillary Clinton. My beef with Hillary Clinton is not your beef with Hillary Clinton. And so the fact that Bernie Sanders endorsed Hillary Clinton did not make Bernie Sanders the devil to me, like he became the devil to some progressives. The fact that Keith Ellison endorsed Hillary Clinton did not make Keith Ellison the devil to me like he did some of you. For me, it simply means Keith Ellison wants to remain a power player or become a power player in the Democratic Party. And because he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he is actually in position to take over the Democratic Party. Now, let me go back to what I was saying about the Green Party. There are people tied. Some of the articles that you guys are passing around, they're articles from the Black Agenda Report. I know the Black Agenda Report well. Bruce Dixon, Glenn Ford, they are part. Bruce Dixon in particular is a part. He leads the Georgia Green Party. And he is one of the number one people who these articles are being passed around by, being attacking. All of your talking points are coming from a Green Party leader. So it just makes sense to me that the Green Party would not be interested in getting, first of all, the Green Party doesn't think anybody's progressive but them. I'm just getting in all kind of trouble tonight. Fuck it, right? Nobody's progressive enough. But do you realize, and I'm coming full circle, do you realize that this purity test is itself becoming the greater evil? Because we are in a vulnerable situation, and I'm going to give you exactly what I mean. Here we are with a choice between a lobbyist and someone who takes money from lobbyists. And people are acting like there's no difference between the two, so that's going to end up giving us the lobbyist instead of a person who is pretty progressive and takes money from a lobbyist. But because you want to reject the lesser evil, you want to make them the same, and so we're going to end up with Howard Dean. Likewise, we're going to keep waiting on the perfect progressive candidate, and we're going to march our way one step closer, state by state by state, closer to the Republican Party having an amendment-sized majority of state legislatures. Right now, the Republican Party, new clip. Right now, the Republican Party has control over 32 state legislatures, both houses, the state house and the state senate. They need one more house before they could decide amongst the states to open up a constitutional convention and propose a constitutional amendment. Now, we're already dealing with borderline supermajorities in Congress on the federal level. So quite literally, they could just pass this from the federal level and say, we're going to make a constitutional amendment to define marriage as being between a man and a woman. As soon as these Republican-leaning states, we're at 31, 32. As soon as we get to 38, and we'll show you the breakdown. Once we get to 38, they will have 3/4 of the state legislatures, and they will be able to not only propose, but ratify a constitutional amendment. While we as progressives are over here trying to find the most progressive candidate possible, rejecting this incessant need. Incessant means this continuous need to, because somebody mistook that for incest the other day. And I'm like, no, incessant is not incest. But anyway, this incessant need to find the perfect candidate is going to leave us vulnerable to the worst candidate. Trying to point out that Keith Ellison is not the progressive you thought he was only leaves us at the vulnerable to an actual lobbyist who was a part of building the problem that we see. So, Benjamin Dixon, and you guys can unsubscribe as needed. Those of you who want to remain, I love you. I thank you. Stay. But I don't have time for it anymore. Right? We're not talking about 4 years of Donald Trump. I'm going to do fine over the next 4 years. I'm going to fight like hell, right? And we'll talk about how people on the left can survive, and people, the LGBTQ communities. So some communities are very vulnerable right now, legitimately. But we're not talking about 4 years of Donald Trump. We're talking about purifying ourselves right into state legislatures and Congress having the majorities they need to pass, to propose, and ratify constitutional amendments that we would be stuck with probably the rest of our lives. 4 years of Trump will look like taking a walk down the street compared to the impediment of a constitutional amendment that defines the definition of marriage as being between a man and a woman. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not asking for your opinion on this. I'm telling you, I'm not playing that game. We need all hands on deck to make sure that, and you know who's not a partner in this? Maybe in Baltimore, in Maryland. In Maryland, the Green Party may be, and sometimes in Massachusetts, but not right now. In Maryland, the Green Party is a partner in this. The Green Party can help back off the GOP's any type of majority. But like in the states where we desperately need their help, the Green Party is not there. The Green Party is not in Kansas. The Green Party is not really strong in Nevada. I know they have some presence there, but they're not strong in Nevada, right? Where we need someone to help fend off the supersized majorities that the GOP needs. So I'm not playing that game. I'm sorry. Like, Keith Ellison is the best progressive you're going to get. And you know what? That's the person I want. Because we're going to play around and give Republicans the majorities they need to change the face of America. And this is not, you can call it fear mongering if you want. I'm totally okay with that. I don't even care. Because again, 4 years of Trump is like a walk in the park compared to fighting uphill against constitutional amendments. Hell, 4 years of Trump is a piece of cake compared to Supreme Court decisions. How long did Ferguson versus Plessy last? Well, shit, it lasted to 1954, right? From slavery to 1954. I mean, that's like, you know, the lifespan back then, that's probably 2 lifetimes. That's how long a Supreme Court decision can last before somebody overturns it. And so now we're talking about Donald Trump being able to make appointments, right? This is the immediate danger, right? The constitutional amendment thing, that's if they continue to get these majorities, right? Which if we keep playing around, they'll get. Like, let's not fool ourselves. If we keep playing around, they can get it. But the immediate threat that we're facing is Donald Trump's ability to appoint people, like he said, that align with justice, that remind him or are similar to Antonin Scalia. And with the express stated desire of overturning Roe versus Wade. And I believe as much as he says, and this is somebody pointed this out so brilliantly on Twitter, I don't have your name, but I'm crediting somebody else. Check my timeline. Even though he's in favor of gay marriage or the decision of marriage equality, I believe Oberfeld versus Hodges, it's irrelevant that he supports it. He doesn't have any control over the Supreme Court overturning Oberfeld versus Hodges. None. All that's required is a challenge to come up from a lawsuit all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decides. So everyone's like, well, he's in favor of gay marriage. It's out of his hands. Just like anything that would happen with the Senate or the House on the constitutional amendment, the state legislatures and the state house is completely separate from the executive branch on the state and federal level. So he could be in favor of marriage equality all he wants. That doesn't stop someone like Citizens United, the conservative group that's behind the ruling on Citizens United. It doesn't stop them from filing a lawsuit to take it all the way to the Supreme Court to overturn Oberfeld versus Hodges. And to be quite honest with you, there is only one person, and I said this earlier, and I'm going to say this again. There's only one person standing. Let me start that sentence. There is only one person that can stop Donald Trump. And that's, I was going to insult him with his name, but I'm going to call him by his name because we need his help at this point. Mitch McConnell. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He is the only person who could help stop the social revolution that the conservative movement is going to bring underneath Donald Trump. And this is what I was saying when I said this is how people on the left have to survive. You have to, somebody right now, I hope somebody in a Democratic leaning office has already gone to Mitch McConnell and made the case that we need the filibuster to remain. Because without the filibuster, they have the complete ability to get rid of the filibuster. And without the filibuster, there are no challenges. There's no way to stop a Supreme Court appointee that Donald Trump nominates. I said appointee, I meant nominee, that he would nominate. None. There's no way Democrats will be able to block it without the filibuster. There's no way Democrats will be able to block any legislation without the filibuster. And Mitch McConnell has the ability to bring at the beginning of the session, and they set the Senate rules, they decide whether or not they are going to have a filibuster. Without the filibuster, that's a wrap. Donald Trump can appoint anyone he wants without anyone being able to stop him. All they would have to have is a simple majority, and the Republican Party already has a simple majority. Any legislation that he wants to pass, no challenges. It goes right through in 2 years, shoved down your throat, and you say thank you for it afterwards. Mitch McConnell is quite literally the only person in America right now who can stop an onslaught of social conservatism taking over the world, over America. But you do realize it's going to cost Democrats a whole lot to get this type of somebody who doesn't play the rejection of lesser two evils is in Mitch McConnell's ear right now, telling them everything the Democrats are willing to give up just to save America on social issues. Because let's be quite honest. Can we be quite clear about what's game over, checkmate? Checkmate on a couple things. One, any idea of political correctness, checkmate. That's out the window, right? Checkmate on any type of progress on social justice, any progress on criminal justice, any progress on the Attorney General investigating crimes of police officers. Checkmate on anything from Black Lives Matter, any assistance from the government on Black Lives Matter. Checkmate on all that. That's done. Forget that, right? You know, we'll take to the streets. We can fight that there, but there's nothing the government's going to give you on that for the next 4 years. Forget about it. You know what else is gone? Any opposition to tax breaks. That's it. They're done and over with. Corporate tax breaks, the corporate tax rate before the end of the first year, probably within the first 100 days of Donald Trump's administration, it's going to go from 35% to 15%. Checkmate, done. You know what else is gone? Regulations. You're going to see a drastic reduction in regulations that have protected the environment, as well as protected the consumer, and just protected businesses from. You're going to see they're done. And there are so many things that are just not even in our control anymore. Period. The only thing that we remotely have the chance on are social issues. Preserving the progress, not making new ground, but preserving the progress on social issues. And the reason I say Mitch McConnell is the only guy that might, one, it benefits him in a couple of ways to keep the filibuster. And I'm sure somebody much smarter than me and much smarter than Max, which is very difficult, somebody smarter than us, they're already in Mitch McConnell's ear. It benefits Mitch McConnell to keep the filibuster. Number one, because it would allow the Democrats to be the bad guys against Trump over the next 4 years. Because let's be sure, Mitch McConnell does not like Donald Trump. And Mitch McConnell is not going to go along with every single thing that Donald Trump wants. Mitch McConnell's not going to go along with everything that Paul Ryan wants. And so instead of making himself be the enemy of Donald Trump and the conservative movement, and to protect Republicans in the midterm election and in the 2020 election, because if they get everything they want, they overturn and they push back women's rights, and they push back or we appoint people who are going to overturn Roe v. Wade. That means that itself ends the Republican supermajority in 2 years, right? So to protect the Republican majorities, Mitch McConnell would love to have the Democrats play the bad guy and stop Donald Trump on certain issues, namely social issues. Game over on pro-business issues. That's all done. And you know what? He can get it, and get it bipartisan, just simply by saying, Democrats, I will give you the filibuster if you right now commit to standing by me on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, pro-business, tax cuts, less regulation. Democrats are going to exchange pro-business, tax cuts, and regulation, and less regulation, in order to keep the filibuster, to save the progress that we have on social issues. Because without the filibuster, we will see the overturn of Roe v. Wade. We will see a challenge to impossible overturn of Obergefell versus Hodges. And we will see an onslaught of legislation that is just that may end up being illegal, unconstitutional, but only after someone challenges from the courts. This man right here, as much as I criticize him, much as I mock him, he is quite literally the only person in America that can stop the rollback of social progress that we have so far. And somebody smarter than all of us, I hope, is in his office right now, showing him all the ways the Democrats are willing to capitulate in order to preserve that progress. What's the alternative? See, now here's the question. Are you going to reject those lesser two evils? Here's the real question. Are you going to tell me that it's equally evil for us to capitulate on pro-business policies as it is to sit by and let there be a rollback? We're not talking about fear-mongering anymore. We're motherfucking talking about actually being able to overturn Roe v. Wade with one appointment, and potentially two soon. We're talking about overturning Obergefell versus Hodges. See, it was all speculative. It was all academic in the primaries in the general election, but we're here now, And so are we going to reject that and say, oh, well, I don't want either. I don't want either because I don't want to do anything that's going to help capitalism in America. And then simultaneously give it over that we not only have full-blown capitalism, but we have a rollback on social issues. So somebody who lives in the grays more than you and I, somebody who's a little bit more intelligent than you and I, they're in his office right now saying, hey, we will play the bad guy to Donald Trump. You be the good cop, we'll be the bad cop. Here's everything that we're going to sign on for you, pro-business, and you just let us have the filibuster. Now, one thing that may make my entire what's the count after this election for for the Senate? What's the breakdown in the Senate? 52-48. Yeah, right. So Republicans don't have a supermajority, anywhere near a supermajority. Right. So the filibuster is our tool. That's it. That's all we got. And he's the man to decide whether or not we can use it. I personally gladly accept the lesser evil. They're going to do it anyway. Hell, let's all get some tax breaks. Let's just bankrupt the government. Let's run up these deficits and try to save as much progress as we can on social issues, because they are in a position to roll it back. And if we keep playing this game, it won't even be in the hands of Mitch McConnell. It'll be in the hands of, let's say Mitch McConnell blocks a constitutional amendment. It'll be in the hands of the state legislatures. They're one state away from being able to call a constitutional convention. One state away from having a 2/3 majority 6 states away from having a 3/4 majority. It's time for some pragmatic politicians on the scene. I'm gonna take this last caller. Might be my last caller ever, because people are gonna leave the show. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and/or question?
Hi, Ben. This is Vita. How are you?
I'm doing great, Vita. What's on your mind?
I have a couple of questions I would like to ask to you. In terms of progressives, all this after post-election analysis, I've been from every station programs from progressives, especially I was watching Sam C the other day and his meltdown. And it was a blame game again in terms of saying that the reason why we lost the election because of the black voters, you know, they didn't come out like they did for President Obama.
That's true.
And then it was about Trump and not and saying also saying that the DNC is not as powerful as we think. You know, they didn't. Debbie Watts Chauvin didn't have didn't do anything that really could that affected the how Hillary was being put out in terms of putting all her eggs in the basket for her, and that Bernie Sanders got in the race too late, and that's his fault. If he had got in earlier, then he would have been a better candidate. And him in the Ring of Fire, it just was just so pragmatic, because if we don't look at the real facts behind some of the things that occurred, we can't not strategize to move forward to have better strategies to build our movement if we can't admit the things that really happened. And also the reason why they said the FBI, what the FBI did, that caused the election for Hillary. I mean, even the progressives are taking on these narratives, which is, I think, is a downfall for us as a group, because if we are picking up these CNN, MSC, all these surrogates narratives, and which we know are false, you know, and if we're embracing them, and to the audience, the citizens that are watching our media and alternative media, and if we get this from these shows, then it's like watching MSNBC or Chris Matthews or Chris Hayes, you know. And then the other thing I want to ask you, one last thing before I let you go, did you watch Dave Chappelle's monologue for Saturday Night Live?
You know I did.
It was on point.
It was everything. I love Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle so much. If somebody in the audience loves me, why don't you? No, I'm not gonna ask you to buy it. I'm gonna buy myself the Dave Chappelle Show seasons 1 and 2 and 3. I believe it's the third season. But I love Dave Chappelle. It was great. Vita, let me answer your question off air. Because I didn't realize it was already after 10. It was like 10:12. We gotta get out of here. To answer your question, listen. I know Sam. I know Tom. I know them. I know Tom more personally than I know Sam. But I know them well enough to say they're calling it like they see it. Now, if they don't include the conversation about what Hillary Clinton did wrong to lose, then I would say, hey, guys, you know, you're leaving something out. But it is true that black folks didn't show up. And we didn't have to. It was up to Hillary Clinton to get us out there. You know, it is what it is. It is true that millennials didn't show up as much, right? She got the overwhelming majority of millennials, if I'm not mistaken, but they didn't show up in the numbers. It's true that she didn't win women by the margin that she needed to, right? There's all kinds of things, but people 6 million less Democrats showed up across the board. So all those things are true. Yeah. Right. You know, James Comey coming in at the last second. Yeah, I'm sure that has some factor. But the overwhelming majority of the reason we lost is simply because we didn't realize Donald Trump's act. We didn't realize America was like shit. Did anybody really believe that Donald Trump could pull together an electorate like that? We lost because we underestimated his ability to pull together enough angry white people and enough few Hispanics here, a few blacks here to actually pull that together and make a coalition out of it. And he did exactly that. That's why we lost. Second reason we lost, we cannot, wait, I'm sorry. Number one, we cannot negate Donald Trump's new electorate. To do that would be fatal. Two, Democrats just didn't show up because they weren't excited about Hillary Clinton. Some of them just didn't want to vote for her. A lot of people left it blank. And then three, then I would look at after those two, I would look at the different communities that didn't show up and then ask the reason why. And not say, oh, it's black people's fault. If anybody's saying it's black people's fault, then please let me know. Because then I have to call them out. But ask ourselves why. And the overwhelming reason, in my opinion, is that nobody was motivated by Hillary Clinton. You cannot, here's the fatal flaw. They expect, and I told y'all, man, I hate to say I told you so, but I said you cannot pony off the black card, President Obama. You cannot transfer the black card. You can't just give that to a white person. You can't just expect to say, oh, all the black people in America voted for me. If you don't vote for Hillary Clinton, you're going to, let me down, black people. That doesn't work. And they honestly believe that they were going to get the Obama coalition to show up, and the Obama coalition gave them the middle finger. So all those things are elements, and that's it. That's all I can say. But anyway, guys, the show has gone on very long. I can't stay much longer other than to say I appreciate you, those that remain, and haven't unsubscribed. Somebody in the chat room just said it's been taking correct the record money now. Man, I'm out.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.